Hi, everybody. This is Slava Kurylak. I am the founder CEO at Produvia. And today, you and I will talk in depth about how to source or find global talent using modern machine learning technologies. I am super excited to be on this live stream because there are many insights that I share with our audiences each week. And today I am very excited to be hosting this event with an interview. And I am excited to bring on Ilya, who is the founder CEO at VanHack. I want to briefly introduce Ilya for those who are not familiar. Ilya has been an entrepreneur for a long time. He has traveled the world. He has seen the problems of being hired and hiring. And today he leads VanHack, a company that's aiming to help global companies get qualified leads in less than 48 hours. And we will chat more about this, but I'm excited to bring on Ilya. Please welcome Ilya Brotzky at VanHack.
Hi, Slava. Great to be here.
Hi, Ilya. It's great to have you on. Today, we have a diverse audience, individuals who are interested to get hired, individuals who are already using advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, and we also have companies who are interested to hire. So we do have a diverse audience, and I want to set the stage for those who are listening. COVID-19 has radically shifted everyone's mindsets with respect to hiring, and Ilya at VanHack is one of the leading companies that is able to adapt very quickly. I have seen Ilya and VanHack evolve over COVID-19, and I can only say positive things about how quickly VanHack had adapted to COVID-19. And I'm curious to know, Ilya, what were some of the radical changes that you noticed as the result of COVID-19?
So the biggest change has been the willingness of companies to hire from anywhere. When we started VanHack, we had a really hard time convincing companies to hire people who they've never met before, didn't come to their office, didn't have that face-to-face, well, I guess in person, or this is even in person, right? Like, what does that even mean anymore? Like physical meeting. That was a hard challenge. A lot of companies were worried about communication levels, English level communication skill, general tech skills, and it was hard. It was just a hard sell. With COVID, the fact that everyone's now remote or distributed by default, we've seen a large increase in employers being open to saying, hey, you know what? Doesn't matter where you live, as long as you can code and speak good English, we'll help you. We'll hire you. So yeah, that's been the biggest shift. It's been both a huge opportunity and also a huge challenge. So yeah, but for us, I think it's allowed companies to be faster in their hiring, and it's allowed candidates who otherwise would not have gotten a chance to be able to have an opportunity to get hired and either keep working remotely or actually move to the country that they want to move to. So yeah, that's been the change.
Yeah, you have been really active on outreach. You have been really active on social media to both find the talent that's looking for availability of jobs and companies who are interested to hire. And recently, you have reached a very important milestone where you were able to source more than 1,000 workers on your platform. This is a very important milestone for you. Please tell us, some of the learnings that you have taken away as the result of hiring more than 1,000 people.
Yeah, thanks, Slava. It was a really exciting moment for us. We hit it just before New Year's, so kind of like December 27 or 28, something like that, 2020. and then we shared the news with everyone after the holidays. Biggest learnings, I guess, probably. I mean, there's so many things, right? Like, the biggest one would be when we first started, we made 7 hires in our first year, and then that kind of crept, I think, to 50, and then 95, and then growing more and more. I think it's probably just like when we started VanHack in general, like we didn't realize, or we didn't think we'd get to where we are. So I think the biggest learning was just like, it's possible, and to keep going and be consistent with the effort and the work. That's more from, like, I guess, a startup point of view, or like a tech founder point of view. When you're starting things out, they might seem small in the beginning, but with network effects, things can grow. Yeah, and I guess another thing that I guess we've proven is that there's great talent everywhere. It's kind of a cliche now. A lot of people believe that, but kind of going back to what I was talking about before, where a lot of companies and the people weren't taking global talent as seriously as they were. Now I think we've proven that without a doubt that there is great talent everywhere. We've had people from over 20, 25 countries get hired. Cuba, Malawi, Taiwan, etc. Very diverse countries, diverse cultures, and I think it comes down to one of our values, which is code has no accent, right? Like, people, developer, doesn't matter if you speak JavaScript, you can speak JavaScript anywhere. So it's this universal language that people from all over the world, no matter kind of what their background is, can connect with. And I think it's kind of our idea that maybe in the beginning was a little bit crazy. Now I think, like, we're even getting companies copying us, and we're seeing different competitors pop up, which is flattering. So yeah, I think it's it's a cool number, and it's nice to celebrate. But for also, we're also at day one, as a very famous person says. So we're just getting started.
The analogy of being day one is very important. We often change our motivations as we develop products, as we develop companies, and reminding yourself that you're back at starting point, you're back at the starting line, you're back at day one. It's always referred to reminder for you to rethink how things are being done. And I also want to highlight that VanHack has worked with some of the world's impressive companies and enterprises like Brex, Rogers, and Thinkific here locally in Vancouver. It's great to see that, and I would like to learn about your sort of corporate side. Like, what is your focus for helping companies to bridge the talent gap?
Yeah, so we have been fortunate to work with some awesome companies like the ones you mentioned, and about 700 others. The biggest focus for us is helping them with the senior roles, where the hardest to fill roles, the roles that they can't really find locally, or the roles they're having trouble filling. And then also we'll help them find diverse talent, so talent from different cultures, different gender, different background, ethnicities, etc., which is something that I believe a lot of employers are putting value on these days. So yeah, those are kind of the two main reasons or value propositions we give to companies. And I guess maybe a third one is the fact that we can help them with kind of fast, rapid hiring. So we've our biggest success case is Skip the Dishes. They're of course everyone knows who they are, at least in Canada, or Just Eat Takeaway in Europe, world's largest food delivery network. And they hired over 100 developers from us, and 75 of those were from a recruiting fair we did over 2 days. So if a company is looking to hire not one, but maybe 100 developers, we can also help with that, which I believe is pretty rare to have that quality and quantity combination, because of the kind of global talent pool that we provide.
Yes, let's discuss the challenges you face now as you're scaling, right? You've mentioned you are working with hundreds and now thousands of companies and individuals. You're now dealing with more data. You're now dealing with a variety of data. You're dealing with different languages. Obviously, English is one of them. And you have strong ties in the South American market, which means now you're dealing with other languages like Brazilian, Portuguese, etc. And I want to know, what are some of the challenges that you face as you scale both number of sort of talent that's looking for a job and companies?
I think the challenge is always being able to make the right match. So when we bring on and keeping the marketplace balanced. So we go through phases where sometimes we'll have a lot of candidates and not enough jobs, and then we'll work hard to bring more jobs on. And then we'll have the opposite problem. We'll have a lot of jobs and not enough candidates. So we'll work hard to bring the candidates on. And we're always kind of doing both at the same time. But you do have to kind of know where to focus and when, and not just more jobs or more candidates, but the right jobs and the right candidates. And that's really the main challenge, is finding those people that are on both sides of the marketplace at scale. Finding ways to automate and smooth the whole process has been a big focus for us. So we launched an interview scheduling tool, which was really amazing for us. So companies can now just schedule interviews directly with candidates on the platform. We launched our applicant tracking system, where candidates can manage their entire job search, both candidates can manage their job search and employers can manage all their job postings in one place. So really just working and building software tools that allow us to like chat. We built lunch chat, comments, a lot of English video introductions for candidates too. So a lot of features that allow companies to quickly log in, see the candidates who applied, see the ones that we think are the best for them, and then book interviews with them right away. So that's been kind of the focus, is just smoothing out and ironing out the entire process. So the software does the heavy lifting and kind of the admin work. Before, our recruiters used to spend hours scheduling interviews, finding time slots, and it's a whole logistic mess. And now companies can just, in a few clicks, request interviews and have those scheduled. So things like that have been really helpful. And then just working on our matching algorithm based on the data that we have. As you mentioned, that's a really big key, and one of our advantages that we do have so much data on what a good candidate looks like, what a company wants in a candidate. Some companies want people with perfect English. Other companies are okay if the person's English is, good enough. Other companies are looking for people who have worked in specific types of companies, like, you have to have had North American experience, or you have to have experience with this industry. So all these kind of fine details make a huge difference in the hiring process. And so it's all about understanding the employer as best as possible, understanding the candidate as best as possible, and making the match. And having that be accurate. I'm really proud to say, like, we're getting better and better at that, and there's a lot of things that we've done to improve that. But it's a never-ending challenge, because there's always kind of refinements and optimizations that you can make through the process. And I believe as we get larger and make more hires, and also have more candidates rejected, which is also really good data to send to, we'll get better and better in our matching, and hopefully be able to automatically recommend the top candidates and have those candidates hired most of the time. So that's where we're trying to head to.
Ilya, I want to set the stage for those who are listening that hiring process is multifaceted, right? You have not just the matching elements, you also have lots of steps that are done before matching. You have many steps done after matching. And it's very important that our listeners understand that the process is actually quite diverse. So we can sort of, if we think about the flow a goes through, perhaps they are first being screened. So there's candidate screening, then we have candidate engagement, where that individual is being engaged with the company. We have the new hire onboarding processes. We have career development, employee relations, and scheduling. So the recruitment space is quite diverse. And I want to ask you, what parts of that entire process is VanHack really good at, and what parts is VanHack perhaps looking to improve?
Good question. I mean, we're good at everything. Just kidding, of course not. No. I think we're good at building community and sourcing talent. I would say that we're pretty good at that. We have over 200,000 people who have signed up to our platform and about 1,000 people signing up every week. So I think that we're pretty strong on that. Where we can improve, I think, is the technical screening. So we've hired our first technical screener in-house to be able to vet JavaScript candidates, and we're doing a pilot to see if having her do the screening helps increase the likelihood of a candidate to get hired. Because we previously just used coding tests, and I believe those aren't the best indicator. But it's something, but it's not everything, or not enough. So I'm optimistic, and we'll see how those results go. And then, yeah, I think otherwise we're pretty good at following up, making sure that logistics of the interviews go well, offers accepted, all those kind of things. But candidate engagement I think is also pretty good too. But yeah, so sometimes like just getting that technical screening right is a challenge.
Absolutely. The recruitment industry is very close to my heart as well. I think that any company that is able to hire better talent is able to be more competitive. It's able to move faster than other companies. Any company that is finding the right candidate at the right time means they are so much more advantageous than those who are spending months, sometimes years to find somebody. I want to set the stage for those who are listening. Can you tell our audience what is the, let's say, the typical or the traditional process of hiring look like, perhaps pre-COVID-19, and what is VanHack able to offer? And again, I've mentioned this before, but I'll say again, VanHack has created a system that is able to hire candidates in less than 48 hours, and I'm sure that number is dropping by the minute. So I'm curious to know what the industry does as a norm and what you do.
Yeah, so the 48 hours is it's how fast we can get candidates to companies. And actually, one of the even cooler stat is that 80% of the people who get hired on VanHack apply for the job that they get hired for within 20 minutes of it being posted. So right away, like in 20 minutes, you'll get someone who ends up being hired. Not every time, but for the ones that do get hired, that's how fast it is. And I think that's because of the engaged community that we have of people from around the world and their kind of excitement about these opportunities. So let's juxtapose that with the kind of the traditional model or what you're doing to look for developers. So typically when a company wants to hire a developer, they'll post a job on LinkedIn and Indeed and kind of these traditional job boards that not really many developers look at, and there's not that many developers who are looking for jobs actively, especially in kind of the local market. So they'll put, and also they'll ask their friends, referrals, etc. And then they'll go maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks without getting any candidates, or maybe they'll get a lot of candidates, but just not the right ones. Like a bunch of junior developers apply for senior roles. Hopefully they'll interview a few of them. They'll make an offer. The offer might get rejected or the company will, like the current company where the company's working or the candidate's working will make a counter offer. So they'll get into a bidding war. So these kind of things, and those are really challenging. And it's really like there's kind of two problems with that. One is that every time you're putting one of your developers to spend an hour or interviewing a candidate, that's an hour that they're not writing code. So it's kind of almost like lost time. And developer hours are not cheap. So think about how many hours of interviews you have to go through just to find that one candidate. And every day, week, month that goes by that this role isn't filled, that's time that you're not sending code into production and not launching features that maybe your competitors are or that your customers are asking for. And that if you're not delivering on, then maybe they'll go somewhere else, right? So if the name of the game is to build the best possible product in the world in your category, to be able to grow and have an amazing experience for customers, have them refer, to tell their friends, upgrade, upsell, et cetera, then having a world-class, rock-solid tech team is vitally important. So yeah, I think that's kind of the challenge that we're solving, is to help them build that team quickly. And then I think that you want to be able to get developers right away. It's like you press a button, boom, there's 75 senior JavaScript engineers who are ready to go. You choose the one you want, interview them, have the offer accepted, and ready to go. So yeah, that's the use case we're trying to build. Of course, not every time is like that, but we've had one company, for example, sign up in December. In 2 weeks, they hired two developers, and the only reason it took that long is because of the holidays. So it can be pretty quick, and it really a lot of times depends on the company. But yeah, we're working to solve the problem.
Being able to hire faster is definitely one of the advantages of moving fast in the marketplace. Finding the right candidate at the right time is a great problem to solve. I have another question about what kind of data is VanHack using to match the company to the talent?
A lot of that is the candidate's profile data and the job description. So we see the skills that the company is looking to hire. We see the skills in the candidate profile and match those kind of at a high level. And then there's also candidates' engagement and candidates' English level, feedback from our team about how the candidate's performance was in interviews. And also we like to check if the candidate has progressed in other interviews and done well. That also improves. So there's a bunch of factors. And that's something that is constantly changing and being refined, and we're kind of putting new versions online of that and seeing what data is important and what data is not. But yeah, there's a lot of nuances in all of that I described. But yeah, that's kind of the basics of what we do.
Ilya, tell our audience about what you think about using video in the screening process. I'll set the stage for those who are not familiar. Human beings have been primarily evolved through our eyes. We're very mnemonic creatures. We mimic each other. We look at each other's face. We look at each other's body language. This is how we interpret the world. Now, while there is lots of value in reading a piece of text, there is lots of value in listening to somebody speak. There's tremendous value in listening and watching somebody, watching their language, watching how they behave. And the video is a very powerful tool to capture data that is often missed by other sort of technologies like text or audio. So let's discuss, what are your thoughts on video, and how do you want to use video in the future?
Yeah, well, we use video all the time right now. Every candidate who signs up to VanHack has to do an English test, no matter where you're from, and it takes about 10-15 minutes, but it's a really important part of our process. And we use one of the 3 videos that they do on their VanHack profile. So if you go to vanhack.com/talent, you actually can see all the candidates in our talent pool. Search the candidates to find specific skills you want, like a Vue.js developer or whatever kind of profile you're looking for. And you can watch videos of the candidates introducing themselves. So it's actually one of our, I think, most kind of favorite features that employers talk about, where they're able to watch a 30 to 45 second video of a candidate introducing themselves, talking about their professional experience and kind of background and career aspirations. And you're absolutely right. This gives them a really nice sneak peek into the candidate, and allows them to almost like interview them before actually interviewing them. And sometimes you get into an interview and right away it's a bad fit, right? Like within 1 minute you see the candidate's just not a good person for you, not a good fit for you. And so we like to think that those video previews eliminate that risk, because you get to see, hey, that person really speaks well, professional. There's some things that they might say in the video that aren't in the resume, such as like what is their favorite technology or what they're looking to work for in the future. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. We've been using it for about, I think, 2 years now. We have a very, very large repository of candidates, candidate videos introducing themselves, and it's something that I think is a big differentiator between us and other platforms.
This is a great thing to hear from you, that you are leveraging video. It sounds like companies are finding this feature very likable within the platform, and this is something that I believe more and more recruitment companies should definitely leverage. Video transmits many signals that we can often better understand if we are be able to access that video. The other element I wanted to ask you about is that, are you using technology to scan through the videos, right? So it's one thing to record video, it's one thing to offer video to, for example, a company who is looking to hire, but are you using technology now that's scanning the video on your behalf and perhaps extract some insights?
We're not, and I didn't know that was possible. So if you have any suggestions, that'd be really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I do want to bring this to the attention of the audience. There are many ways that companies can use computer vision technologies to better understand video. Computer vision, when it's combined with deep learning, is extremely powerful to scan and analyze and make sense of video data. Video data is really images that are moving through different frames. So if you have picture by picture, you're analyzing video in a temporal sense. And the major elements you're able to extract, one being how comfortable is a person on video, right? So this is, think of it like a baseline for establishing comfort level, or baseline for establishing truthfulness, right? Comfort is closely related to truthfulness. So example is, if your candidate is sitting in his or her chair and he is slouched down, he's leaning forward, then it constricts the pathway of the airway, it constricts how they speak, it constricts their movements, it constricts how they sound, and so that creates a very poor impression on the person who's watching. If, on the other hand, if a person sits back in their chair and slightly leans back, has a more open body language, this usually translates to more confidence. This translates to being hired better by the company who's looking. And so today you have lots of technologies available that are powered by deep learning, that are using computer vision to understand how a person moves their body. And the basic example is body movement, and you can track body movement patterns using computer vision technologies. But the other examples that I can share with you, Ilya, include being able to detect if a person is nervous or not based on their tone of voice, based on their body language. You can label videos that are something that you do from your side, and this is something that you create a data set for. This is something that you give a computer examples for, and you simply make a note that says, this part of a video, a candidate was quite nervous, and the other part he was not. And through these examples, you're teaching your system to perhaps give signals back to the candidates on how they can improve their video recordings, right? So now you're able to offer tips and recommendations, perhaps what they can do better to stand out in video. On the other side, you can give them tips on perhaps what they can improve in their English. So you can have computer vision analyze the video, and you can have audio technologies analyze the audio, and then you can offer feedback. Perhaps you can have an automated system that can analyze their English proficiency. And now, instead of having the person watch them, you can have a system that gives them immediate feedback and says, hey, we estimate your proficiency is at level 6 out of 10. Here are a few things you can do to improve to 7 out of 10, and please do so and come back to us. And this can be fully automated. So there are many ways that we can sort of leverage computer vision technologies to analyze video. Audio technologies go hand in hand with computer vision because you're able to understand voice. But I think if any company is using video, I think they're well established.
Nice. Yeah. Send me more, send me more info. That's great.
I appreciate that. Definitely, it sounds like there's quite a room for exploration here. And it's great to hear you're open to ideas as well. The idea of sourcing or finding talent is a concept that a lot of companies are struggling with. A lot of companies are hoping to solve. Just a few weeks ago, I was interviewing the founder CTO Vijay at Turing, and he's using also a variety of data to better source candidates with companies. And any leverage that you have as a company to find and better match candidates allows you to create a more monopolistic type of platform. And if you are already matching up to 80% of your candidates within 20 minutes, then I would challenge you to do that in 10 minutes, right? And I would challenge you to do it faster, because things are moving fast, and you're definitely able to improve things with better accuracy. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about what are some of your aspirations for VanHack? Like, what do you want VanHack to do in the next 1 or 5 years?
Yeah, so VanHack, our goal has always been to be the largest international tech recruiting company in the world, to be the way that the tech world relocates to different cities and countries globally. So right now, I believe we're number 1 in Canada, and we have a lot of room to grow in different markets outside of Canada. Where we want to be, I guess, in the next year, so we just hit 1,000 hires, hopefully to be close to 1,400 or 1,500 by the end of this year. Just keep growing. It's hard to give specific metrics, but we just want to be as big as possible and help change as many lives as we can.
Let's talk about impact. I know that VanHack is a for-profit company, and it's great that you guys are scaling. It's great you guys are growing despite COVID sort of throwing a wrench into the whole ecosystem. I do want to talk about impact. I believe that any company that is public about their mission, is public about their impact, is scaling better. And so let's discuss what do you want to change in this world? Obviously, you want to be number 1 in terms of the go-to source for both candidates and companies. But let's dive a little bit deeper into what kind of impact do you want to make?
Yeah, so I think we're both immigrants, right, Slava? Or maybe your parents moved here and then kind of your second generation, but I'm guessing you're first generation as well. And we know what the impact it has on your life of not just you, but your future generations of your family when you get to move to a country that you want to be in, that you prefer. I think back when we were living in the Soviet Union, you couldn't even get out of the country without permission from the government, right? Basically you're a prisoner in your own country, and that's pretty crazy to think how far I think the world has come, and still not everyone has that ability. People aren't able to get hired or not get hired, get to move, and it's a very hard thing to do. So we want to make it as easy as possible, and yeah, just be able to give as many people that as we can the experience that I had, that you had, Slava. Many people on our team most of our team are immigrants. It really is one of the most impactful things you can do, and I think that we just want to give that ability, the opportunity to tens of thousands of people, maybe 100,000, millions. We'll see in the future, as much as we can.
I appreciate you sharing that, Ilya. I think that if you are thinking like an immigrant, you are definitely thinking about how you can serve the underprivileged, those who are not in position to leverage their location, who are not in the position to leverage their language, but they are in a position to leverage their mindset. And I think the mindset here is very strong that you have, which is of an individual who have seen a diversity, who has seen what it's like to live in a world where things are not always very readily available. And let's talk more about what are sort of the latest advantages that you're noticing for how companies are sort of shifting their operations, right? COVID-19 has forced companies to think globally. COVID-19 has forced companies to think remote. And let's talk about, how VanHack is playing into these trends.
Yeah, I think that companies now, it's funny. A lot of companies still don't have this mindset, and it's funny. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. We still get I still hear once in a while, this company's not a fan of remote, or this company's not open to remote. It's living under a rock for the last year. How are you even? it doesn't make sense. It's like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Like, okay, you're not going to be able to, or like you're not able. Okay, we're not open to hiring people from abroad. Like, well, Amazon is, Shopify is, Microsoft is, Facebook is, like every top company in the world is, and you for some reason can't. It makes no sense. So yeah, that's my little rant about companies who are pretty closed-minded and they think it's too hard or whatever. It's like, come on. But there are many, on the other hand, many much more progressive, I would say, modern, forward-thinking companies that, mostly startups that have been really, and mostly, frankly, with millennials or kind of younger people at the helm, that have embraced this distributed workforce that we're in now, and are saying, you know what, it's way better. My team is happier. They're able to spend more time with their family. They don't have the stress of the commute and traffic. Don't have to pay for an office lease. Like, everyone knows the benefits. I can go on and on. So yeah, like we're helping them be able to find great talents everywhere or anywhere. Have that talent start remotely, then have the talent relocate if they want. Then that gives them, this really great person who's thankful, grateful, hardworking, team member whose visa, is now like they have a visa in this new country, and then it just like we find that it really is a not just a good impactful thing, but it's a good business decision, because the folks on that that we help get hired, they stay longer. They stay for 2.5 years on average. And that number is just going to keep going up because we've only been around for 5 years, so the average will just keep growing as we the people stay in their jobs longer. So yeah, that's the big thing. And then another thing I kind of touched on a little bit before was diversity. But I really do think that if you are serious about building a company that serves people around the world and all types of people as your customers, you need to have a diverse tech team that reflects that can be able to think like the customer and be able to build products. You talk about AI and algorithms, like building products that will understand all types of people and help them with whatever problem I'm trying to solve. So the fact that you're able to, or that we're that's one of the things that we help companies with. And for example, we're doing a Women in Tech hiring fair in a couple of weeks here in March 9th, and hoping to get at least 15, 20 women hired or more. Just being able to bring up this kind of, we call them diamonds in the rough, these people who are maybe would get looked over for whatever reason. They don't have the right address on their resume, or they don't have the perfect English skills, or whatever it might be. But they have the raw technical ability. You just need to understand how to show themselves in a good light, and be able to connect with the right company, and to be able to say, what, this person's great. Let's hire them and have them join. So yeah, that's how we help.
Ilya, I would like to talk to you about technology. I think technology is a great leveler. It's a great leverage for companies who learn to use it correctly. And to me, you are using some of the more modern technologies. You are already have a matching algorithm that's able to pair the talent and the companies. So let's discuss, what technology you're using today and what technology you would like to use in the next year.
I mean, I don't really know what we want to use in the future. The tech team will probably build, we'll figure things out there. I'm not really the best person to comment on the actual software that we use. I know we use C# and React, but I'm sure there's a ton of other things that we use that I'm just not aware of. We just started using Figma a lot more for design, and that's been really good from a product and kind of ideation point of view. But it's hard for me to say what specifically is working really well right now and what we can use in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is always evolving, so keeping up with technology is one challenge. And the challenge I want to ask you about is, for those who are looking to get hired, right? You have a developer. He is in Brazil. He wants to get hired by a company in North America. What are some of the more recent trends you're noticing in technologies? What should they focus on?
I think there's a new JavaScript framework coming out, Next.js. I'm seeing more people talk about that. Generally, like front-end developers, there's so many jobs for front-end developers, React, Angular, Vue, I guess now Next, but really just being strong JavaScript. Golang is growing a lot, actually. Starting to see that more and more, Golang on the back end. But yeah, I think like there's a handful of technologies that you should like that are in demand. But the most important thing is like, what are you passionate about and what are you good at, and being the best at that, and not trying to like fit yourself into something that is not for you. And it's like, okay, just because it's a hot technology, like it's more about learning the fundamentals and being a good developer. It's not really about being like a good Python developer, a good Java developer. Of course, it's good to have some specialty, but don't be scared of saying, you know what, like I'm a really good .NET developer, a really good C# developer. Not as many companies are hiring for that maybe, but I'm really good at that, and that's what I want to work with. You'll find an opportunity with it. Of course, that doesn't apply to like really old school technologies like BASIC or Delphi or something. You have to be reasonable. But I think like as long as you're doing something that you like and you're learning and you're happy, then and you're kind of in that realm of general like software, like generally accepted like good software programming languages, then you'll be fine.
Yes, the technology is always dynamic and it's always evolving. And I like that you said that, focus on, establishing a foundation. Don't worry too much about the language. Don't worry too much about the framework. Focus on the solid software development foundation that you need, so that when you do talk to a company and they tell you that perhaps they're working with Next and perhaps you have foundation in React, then you can sort of jump on and start learning that. It's great to hear that. So this is hopeful for those who are perhaps stuck in a bubble thinking that they need to specialize right away. Sometimes if you have the foundation, that's enough for you to get started. If you have a good profile, if you have a good resume, if you have a good video, you can definitely stand out on VanHack. And so let's talk about on the other side of the coin. So you have lots of companies and they are struggling to hire really good talent, right? We have lots of problems in the market space. We at Produvia are always hiring for machine learning developers, for deep learning developers, and finding the right candidate is more challenging than it sounds. Even if a company is looking to hire remotely, looking for global talent. So let's discuss what are some of the challenges that you see companies face when they're hiring for remote talent?
I think the biggest thing is that companies don't take it seriously enough, or maybe they think they do, but they don't. So we see a lot of people coming to us and saying, "Hey, we want to hire, etc." But then it takes them 3, 4, 5 days to get back to a candidate, or they don't show up for an interview. Or they just don't, they're not engaged for whatever reason. Like, okay, like I get it, there's bugs in production, you want to solve those, et cetera, things come up. But if you are serious about hiring, it really is like a huge time commitment, and there's no real easy way to go about it, right? If someone had a magic wand that they could wave and all of a sudden you have 35 developers working for you and all kind of the right culture fit and skill set, then that person will be like literally a trillionaire or a billion, very, very rich person. That's hard. And I think, just general like basic interview, like taking it seriously is just number one. Like it really is, it's so rare. And then I think a lot of times companies have this mindset that they're going to find that perfect fit. The person's going to be like, they have a list of like, they're saying, okay, it's really hard for us to hire, but we want to hire someone who's like ex-Facebook or Google, and they're, have 10 years experience with these technologies, blah, blah, and we want to pay them $75,000. It's like, come on, man, like that's never going to happen. Forget it. You're just like, you're looking for something that doesn't exist. Like, literally, there is no one in the world with that criteria who will work for this salary, etc. So a lot of times, and that's an extreme example, but we see companies like, there's this one company, I won't mention the name, but we've been trying to help them hire for like a year, and they just keep rejecting candidates that are perfectly good candidates that get hired at other jobs for the same position, like other companies for the same position, same job, and it just blows my mind. Like, what are you looking for? Like I think people just like going through this process and then rejecting candidates so they can feel really good about the fact that they've rejected 99 and they hired one, like the 100th person because it's so hard to get hired at my company. And then like I juxtapose that with a company that we worked with. We helped them hire their VP of engineering. The company posted a job on VanHack, interviewed found the person within 10 minutes, scheduled interview, had one interview with them, made the offer, boom, the person's now they're VP of engineering, working with them for 3 years. So it's not about, and it's not off, like, of course, those are two extreme examples. Maybe the right fit, or the right kind of way to go about it is somewhere in the middle. I would say closer to the second example of being fast and just working, like moving hard fast, because a lot of times as well, like a company's going to find someone and they're going to say, okay, this person's great. Let me make them an offer in 2 weeks because it takes me 2 weeks to get approval from legal and, making sure that everything's correct. Like the company, like candidates are not waiting around. They're going to get other offers. They're probably doing other processes. When someone's looking for a job, they're not just applying to 2, 3 companies. They're probably applying to 40, 50, 100 companies and doing 5, 10 interviews, and maybe probably in final rounds with 2 or 3 of them. And they're going to get 2 or 3 offers, and then they're going to make a decision. So, a lot of that kind of, I think, arrogance almost, or like company thinks that they're the best, and it's like a small startup that no one's ever heard of. Like Facebook and Google and Microsoft and Netflix, these companies, they can afford to be a little bit more picky and kind of have this, but they also pay like way above market rates and have the kind of employer brand where every developer in the world at least applies to one of them. So you just need to understand where you are kind of in the food chain almost, and act accordingly, and treat candidates like you treat customers, and look through it that way, like a sales funnel, and you're trying to make the sale rather than they're the one who have to impress you. Like you equally have to impress them. And I think a lot of companies, they just kind of say, you know what, we got a job, therefore everyone wants a job. Like, it's hard to understand, and which a lot of companies they don't, and they really drop the ball. So yeah, those are the biggest mistakes that I see, and that they get things that they get wrong. And it's funny, you think that they would understand and learn. And VanHack ourselves, we're not perfect too. Like we were also working on improving it. It's a hard thing to do. But yeah, I think that those are kind of the main things I see.
Yes, this is a great reminder for those who are listening. When you do have an applicant applying to your specific job posting, that same applicant is looking elsewhere, that same applicant is exploring all options. And so, be mindful, be respectful in the process of dealing with candidates. And so let's discuss about this current dynamic that we notice when candidates are applying for companies. And this dynamic is often seen in a way that's one-sided, right? When you have a candidate who seems like he or she needs a job, and they are the ones who are sort of more desperate, perhaps, than the company interested to hire, and so it often seems like you have one-sided type of value transfer. But I want to discuss with you, Ilya, about that it's not enough for a company to just have a listing for who they're looking for. It's also important for companies to compete and offer the best possible return value for the candidates, right? It's not a one-sided match, it's a two-sided match. And just like in dating, you have both parties who want to impress each other and they want to put their best foot forward. So let's discuss, what companies can do to make sure they are hiring the best possible talent, besides doing, what you typically see, which is creating a job posting.
So what companies can do? Okay. And what you said about the two-sided value transfer, that's super true. And I think sometimes, like for some roles, it is true. Like a candidate is maybe desperate or really, really wants a job, and you have a lot of people to choose from, and kind of the company has the power. But that's not the case for senior developer jobs. That might be the case for, I don't want to put a specific job because it honestly right now, like just the labor market in general is really hot. But for example, I don't know, maybe. If you were looking to hire waiters in April of 2020 or May of 2020, probably there were a lot of service like wait staff available because of all the layoffs the restaurants had. So sometimes that happens. There's market imbalances. But when when you're looking to hire senior developers, especially now, like the market is much more imbalanced, like in terms of less supply and much more demand. So yeah. So what can companies do? What does good look like, right? So I talked about all the mistakes. Let's talk about the good stuff. So I think the first thing that companies can do is like align internally what it is they're looking for. They do their kind of even before posting a job, have a meeting with the hiring manager and HR and understand like exactly what it is that this role is. Like, is this like, are we hiring a front-end developer? Are we hiring a full-stack developer with emphasis on front-end? What are we looking for in terms of communication level, years of experience? All these things need to be ironed out beforehand. And then a job can be posted. Post on as many channels as you can. Of course, posting on VanHack helps, but that's besides the point. So yeah, once you have that there, then I would start aggressively reaching out to candidates. Not just waiting and sitting back and waiting for candidates to apply. You need to be reaching out to them. There's a lot of tools out there. Of course, LinkedIn comes to mind, but there's a lot of other tools you can use to source candidates. You can even like auto add candidates on LinkedIn with custom messages. You can send candidates emails. You can figure out ways on social. Of course, referral programs. There's a lot of different developer communities out there as well. So there's just different channels you can do to kind of source and get those initial pool of candidates. And then from there, once you have, let's say 10, 15 candidates and you want to interview a few of them, I would schedule short interviews, kind of first round to be maybe, and also another thing, I wouldn't send a coding challenge or a technical test to a candidate or like have them fill out a huge questionnaire before doing a call with them, because, it's kind of like almost insulting. Like, you want me to spend 3-4 hours of my time before I even speak with you? Like, come on. That's kind of, I would say a lot of, especially the good developers, they won't even spend their time on that. Like, you haven't told me why I should do this. You just like, it's not cool. That's another big mistake I see. So don't do that. Do like a quick 15-minute call, maybe 30-minute call with the developer, with the candidate. Talk to them about why they should work for you. Sell, that's really your time to shine and sell the role. What's going on? Like why is it an exciting time to join a company? What kind of problems they're going to be solving? And then, of course, interview them, ask them questions, and make sure they're the right fit as well. From there, if that goes well, then schedule a second round interview, typically with the hiring manager. And in that meeting, you can either have sent a coding challenge, between the first and second step, and then discuss the coding challenge on the second step, or you can do a live coding challenge on the second step. There's a bunch of things, the kind of different ways to approach this step. And then I would have maybe one more step. I wouldn't have more than 3 steps, like 3, maybe 4 steps, but 3 I would say is a good number. The third step would be more maybe like a team interview, or maybe interview with a CEO, or kind of like someone else from the team, like a little bit more like a final round kind of group interview. And then based on that, I would give feedback to the candidate as soon as possible, ideally like an hour or 2 hours after, or maybe 1 or 2 days max. One cool thing I've seen companies do is even the candidates especially the candidates who made it to the last round but don't get hired, they send a company who sends a gift card, like a $25, $50 gift card, saying thank you for taking the time to interview with us. You weren't the right fit, but here's something to say thank you for your time. That's huge impact. No one does that, but I've seen a few companies do it, and like only a few companies do it, and the developers always were super pleasantly surprised, and of course probably will refer their friends to those companies if their friends are looking for jobs that fit the company's needs. Another thing is feedback. So a lot of times companies don't give feedback at all, like 0 feedback, which is not the best. You want to give at least something. I know sometimes for legal reasons you can't give exactly the reason, because then the person might come back and sue you and say, oh, this is wrong, etc. And you don't want to get into that whole can of worms there. But take the time to give people feedback, especially if it's like on their code, like, okay, you didn't do unit testing, or you made there's this bug in your or you could have optimized, like solve the problem a different way, etc. So I would definitely give feedback. And then if you want to make an offer, like make an offer as soon as possible, and have a call with the candidate about the offer. Explain to them what you want, and then I would also give them at least 1 week to think about it. You don't want to give them too much time, because then it's kind of like they're playing you and they're not serious. but maybe like, a week, maybe even too long, but like 5 days, depending on, if you get the offer on Monday, maybe have the offer kind of exploding offer, like expiring offer in about 5 days, 5 business days, I think is fair. That way the candidate has time to talk to their family, think about it, really digest and make sure they're making the right decision. Also, I would offer the candidate chance to, you should definitely do reference checks on the candidate, by the way, that I forgot to mention that part, but I was also offer the candidate a chance to do reference checks or internal, like reverse reference checks where the candidate can speak to people on the team that maybe they haven't spoken to and understand why those people work there, or even alumni of the company who can talk about their experience working at the company. So yeah, those are things that I would say would kind of be best practice. I think the biggest thing for me is moving quickly. That's really the biggest mistake companies make. They always make this excuse that we're busy, etc., and then they lose candidates and wonder why they can't hire people. So yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing these tips. This is a great insight to companies who are looking to hire. They do need to give feedback. They do need to be proactive about reaching the right candidates and hiring them. And let me ask you a few questions about some of the missed opportunities that we often have when we are not explicitly looking to hire, or we are explicitly looking to be hired. So let's set the stage here. So, at any given moment, a developer who is perhaps already working is not necessarily considering looking elsewhere. He's not necessarily in the right frame of mind to open up a profile on VanHack, but he may start to wonder, he may start to be curious, he may start to think about what is it like perhaps to earn a second income, what is it like to have a part-time job. And on the other side, you have companies who sometimes are hiring, but sometimes they're just so busy in the growing and scaling stages that they forget to create a job post. But they're definitely interested to hire candidates, and they will not say no because they are open. They just haven't explicitly made the intention to create a job posting. So this is a missed opportunity that I mentioned here. This is actually a comment I made to VJ at Turing. I've mentioned to him, hey, you have this vast majority of developers. They may not be looking right now, but they may not be fully satisfied with their job. And are you able to accommodate for part-time work? Are you able to accommodate for contract work? Now, Turing, on the other hand, is focusing primarily on full-time matching, meaning employees who are looking for full-time positions. So they're not solving this problem. And to me, that's just a missed opportunity for any company who is out there who may have that potential to go after candidates who may be looking. So let's discuss this idea that you have a developer, they may not be fully satisfied, they may not be fully looking. How can VanHack help them?
Yeah, so we can't. We also do full-time roles. I think just from a business model point of view, it doesn't make sense for us to do part-time because we get paid based on annual salary, and the amount of work it takes to make a full-time hire and a part-time hire are the same, and a lot less companies are looking for part-time, and I think also a lot less candidates are also looking for part-time. So it's just not a big market. There's other marketplaces out there like TopTal and Upwork that are freelance marketplaces that are, I think, good at solving that problem, and companies can hire from there, and candidates can get hired as freelancers or part-time on those platforms. But yeah, it's just not something that we do, especially because of the relocation. You have to have someone with a full-time job offer to be able to have them move. So yeah, it's not a space that we play in or want to work in at all.
Absolutely. And what about on the company side? Companies who may not be explicit in creating the job posting. Is there anything that VanHack is doing now or wants to do to help them to basically go down that path of hiring?
I mean, it takes like 5 minutes to post a job. Like, it's really easy. If you don't even have that time to post a job, you're clearly not serious about hiring. If you're kind of like, oh, we'll just like hire someone if they come along and they're great, like that's pretty wishful thinking. So yeah, like I just don't see that happening ever, where like a company doesn't have it, like they're too busy to even post a job. Like I guess they'll be too busy to do the 7 to 15 interviews you need or whatever it might be. So yeah, I don't think that's something that, yeah, it's not something we'd like to do or work with.
Yeah, I think that if you have the criteria of creating a job listing form, you're pre-filtering the candidates who are more committed, and you're not thinking about the candidates who are not committed or not thinking about the process. So it sounds like you've solved for the problem through the platform that you've created by asking the person to create the job posting, and vice versa, asking the candidate to create a resume so they can apply. And let's discuss about, and we have about a couple of minutes left. I just want to wrap up this live stream, and I want to bring attention to companies, and I want to bring attention to job sort of applicants who are looking, that VanHack is a platform that is readily available. VanHack is a platform that anyone can use, anyone can register for today. This is a platform that is able to offer very easy and streamlined screening solution for both sides of the marketplace. And I encourage everyone to check it out. I'm gonna put a link at the company VanHack on the comment section and on the captions. So vanhack.com, that's VanHack.com. And again, for those who are listening, I highly encourage you to check out VanHack, check out what Ilya and his team have built with VanHack. And let me conclude by thanking Ilya for coming on to this live stream. It's great to have you on. It's great to hear your insights. It's just amazing to see that you guys are growing and scaling super fast. This week, I interview Ilya. Next week, I really hope to interview a real estate company. This is a company that is close to my heart as well, based in Vancouver, Canada. And right now I'm in the process of scheduling. If it's not going to be a real estate company, it'll be a different company. And I do this every single week because I want to share insights about how companies can scale their business, how they can scale their operations in 2021. And I want to conclude also by giving a chance for to speak. Please make any final concluding remarks, and then we will end the live stream.
Yeah, thanks, Slava. Really great to be here. Last thing I'll say is just go to vanhack.com and sign up.
Awesome. Thanks, Ilya. Thanks, everybody who joined in. I look forward to having another live stream. It seems like we have a few comments from the community. Max on YouTube says thanks, and then we have Royale on YouTube saying love the information, thanks for supporting immigrants. That's great. I really appreciate everyone who came out, who joined us, who contributed. I want to thank Ilya for his time once again, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Cheers.